Xbox is going handheld. Partnered with ASUS, they've released two handheld gaming PCs. There's the Xbox Ally. That's the white model, and akin to the Series S, it's the lower priced, lower spec handheld. And there's the Xbox Ally X. That's the black colorway. Akin to the Series X, it's the higher priced, higher spec handheld. This is the review of the ASUS ROG Xbox Ally. If you're looking for the review of the Xbox Ally X, you can hit that link right up there, or wherever it is. Either way, what I'm saying is get subscribed, because we're going to install SteamOS on this thing, upgrade the storage, and do way more in-depth game testing to see how far we can go with emulation and PC gaming. But right now, we're going to do an overview review of the ROG Xbox Ally. I do just want to quickly disclose that ASUS did provide this device for review. This is not sponsored by ASUS, Xbox, Microsoft, or anyone involved in the creation of this device. That means that every word in this video is completely my own and not seen by anyone before it's been published. But it is sponsored by tomtoc. Tomtoc has been a longtime sponsor of the channel, and that's simply because they make the best sling bags. I use mine all of the time, and what makes the sling bag even better is that it fits your Xbox Ally or your Xbox Ally X perfectly. I didn't buy that expensive $70 case from ASUS because I just don't need it. If I'm bringing around my Xbox Ally, it's going to be in the tomtoc carrying bag. It's got a ton of room too, in such a slim profile. There's a section that divides your device from the rest of the bag, so you don't have to worry about your device getting scratched. And because the tomtoc bag is so universal, it fits the original Ally or Ally X, the Steam Deck, or even the Switch 2, no problem. One of my favorite things about this bag though is that you can just rip out the divider so it becomes even more versatile. If you're interested in picking up the tomtoc carrying case for your device, just use the link in the description of this video. The link will actually go to Amazon, which has the tomtoc carrying case on sale for 15% off right now and with Prime shipping. And thanks to tomtoc for sponsoring this video. The Xbox Ally is simply not as powerful of a handheld as the Xbox Ally X, but its specs are still impressive. It's got the new Z2A processor from AMD, 16GB of RAM, a 1080p 7-inch 120Hz LCD touchscreen, and 512GB of internal storage. Even though the display supports 1080p, the device actually comes pre-set up at 720p resolution. The Xbox Ally retails for $599, and the higher-end X model retails for $999. From an ergonomic and hardware design perspective, it is simply the most comfortable handheld I've ever experienced. I know that it kind of looks silly with the handles, but I think this is my favorite form factor handheld easily. That is also helped by the fact that the Xbox Ally comes in at just 670 grams. That's 45 grams lighter than the Xbox Ally X. It's not as light as the 640 grams of the Steam Deck, but it is pretty close. Of course, we are also giving something up here to get that weight down. The Xbox Ally has a 60 watt-hour battery. This is fairly smaller than the 80 watt-hour battery that you'll find on the Xbox Ally X. The handles are what make this device extremely well balanced and are very satisfied grip-esque. I mean, it's literally the exact same form factor as that, and so many people swear by that being the most comfortable way to play Switch. There's so many handhelds where the first thing people do is create 3D printable grips. And it just makes sense. Your hands are away from the chips and fans on the device, so the heat that's given off from more intense games don't impact your playing at all. I am sold now on this being my favorite device form factor. The design of the controller very much has the Xbox DNA. The analog sticks are full size, comfortable, and have a great range of motion. The D-pad is, like an Xbox controller, just okay. It's softer feeling than the Xbox Series controller and has the 8-way directionals. It will do the job just fine even for D-pad-centric games. It's far from my favorite thing about this device, but it's also far from the worst thing about it too. I like the ABXY buttons, and I specifically really like the colorway of the buttons matching the standard Xbox colors. It just helps this device feel uniquely Xbox. On the far left side of the device, we've got an Xbox button. This is the shortcut to the Xbox game bar, and where you'll be able to quickly access settings, get to your Xbox friends list, and capture game footage. Strangely, so is this button on top of the select button. I don't feel like this button should even be necessary anymore, and neither should the button on the right side of the screen, which is a shortcut to your games library. The Xbox button now does both of those things for us with the functionality of Game Bar. Below each of those are start and select buttons. I actually kept accidentally hitting the buttons above, confusing them, thinking those were my start and select, which obviously they aren't. If I could disable the top buttons or swap them with start and select, I would. The triggers feel good, and the LB and RB buttons are nice and clicky. The power button doubles as a fingerprint sensor. We've got a 3.5mm headphone jack, and we've got a microSD card slot, which specifically has support for the faster speed from UHS 2 microSD cards. These cards support faster read and write speeds, and are easy to differentiate because they have 2 rows of contacts on the back of the card. There's also 2 USB-C ports at the top. Both of them are USB 3.2 Gen 2, which supports DisplayPort 2.1 and Power Delivery 3.0. The last thing we'll find at the top of the device is our volume rocker. The back of the device has 2 tiny buttons that are programmable. I'm glad that they're offset from the handles. They're easy to reach for and press, but most of the time, I honestly don't use programmable buttons, so I really like that they're not right underneath my hands all of the time. The white colorway is nice, but it doesn't help with the aesthetic of the unfortunately pretty big bezels around the screen. The screen does get bright, but it's not insanely bright. It comes down to it being pretty great for indoor gaming, except if you're in direct sunlight. The screen glare is just too much, and the nits for brightness are just not quite there. But the screen also does get very dim, which makes it excellent for gaming in bed or on an airplane. It's not an HDR screen, but despite that, the screen does look and feel good. It's the same display we've seen in the previous ASUS ROG Ally and Ally X devices, so it's tried and true. I think the worst thing about this device is unfortunately the software. And also, just a heads up, this experience is exactly identical to the ROG Xbox Ally X, so if this sounds familiar, it's the same thing, but I'm wearing a different shirt. The promise of the Xbox full screen experience is beyond exciting to me though. I like SteamOS, but until we get equal compatibility day one from both Windows and SteamOS, Windows wins that contest. From anti-cheat compatibility for games like Call of Duty, to just the fact that devs are not targeting SteamOS for every game, Windows just still has the widest net of compatibility with games. But experience? Windows doesn't even come close, and neither does the Xbox mode here. SteamOS is still king. And that's apparent from the moment you hit the roadblock of signing into your device on every boot up. It's just so anti-console. You want to boot up and go, and here we are, still with Windows getting in our way. Granted, once you do log in, we're brought straight into the Xbox full screen experience. But that's only once you finish the first time setup, decline all of those garbage-free trials, and then do a bunch of software updates until you can't stay awake to babysit your handheld's first time setup. Whew. But once you do spend an evening completing all of that first time setup, you really do get treated to the beginnings of a true Xbox experience. We aren't loading the desktop environment here, and Microsoft claims that that will save us about 2 GB of RAM, which is usually reserved for services that just simply aren't required for gaming. The Xbox full screen experience is basically the Xbox app we have on Windows, but in full screen. And at the operating system level, we have full controller support. We get an on-screen keyboard with full controller support. We also get those admin privilege dialogues that can be used with just a controller. Even the login screen, which I know I just complained about, can be navigated with just the controller. It's a great first step towards usability. But when we dive deeper into the Xbox app experience, it's just not quite all there yet. The inclusion of games from other launchers into the Xbox app is at least on par with Armory Crate though. So your Steam, Epic Games, GOG, EA games, and Ubisoft games can all live alongside the Xbox Games app. But it's also caveated with this concept of extensions, which seems like it can be buggy from time to time. For example, I wasn't able to always get the EA extension to work, so those games sometimes just didn't show up in my games library. It also doesn't help that it's not uncommon to find yourself needing to switch over to the desktop experience pretty often. This wouldn't be as much of a problem if going to the desktop experience didn't mean that the only way back to Xbox mode was a full reboot of your device. The effort it takes to get into Xbox mode, compared to the simple swipe up on the screen, tap desktop mode, and then instantly have your desktop, is actually kind of concerning. Why is it so easy to get into desktop mode and so cumbersome to go back? But the Xbox full screen experience does have one key standout feature that I think really makes the Xbox Ally a great handheld option, and that's compatibility ratings. The compatibility ratings are the combination of downloading pre-cached shaders when you install a game, and also indicators to let you know how that game will perform on the specific device. The compatibility ratings are the combination of downloading pre-cached shaders when you install a game, and also indicators to let you know how the game will perform specifically on this device. This is a system similar to what you might already be familiar with from Valve and the Steam Deck verification system. As you browse the Xbox Store or your Game Pass library, you can drill down into each game and see an indicator to let you know how each game will perform on your device. This can even go as far as indicators letting you know that this game is specifically handheld optimized. This isn't simply an indicator saying yes, this game will launch on Windows, but actually a lot more personalized. It will let you know how the game will perform specifically on your Ally or your Ally X. This to me is a game-changing feature in the full screen experience, and I like the transparency up front before you even install the game to know how it's going to run. I think that makes it a lot more feasible for somebody who isn't as technical. The only downside is that the compatibility indicators are reserved for games that are within the Xbox Store. Since games from other launchers aren't treated as first-class citizens like Xbox games, we won't see those compatibility indicators from your Steam games or games from other launchers, unless they're available through Game Pass. It's also a weird missing feature that you can't add apps manually to the list of applications in your library. It will respect your default browser choice though, so you can at least get rid of Edge. So even though the Xbox full screen experience is rough around the edges, I think it's a great first step. I'm feeling optimistic that this is the promise from Windows and Xbox to truly start focusing on this Xbox PC experience. This first iteration will hopefully get a lot of user feedback for the dev team to react and iterate on. Or maybe I'm being naive. Either way, it is functional for the most part, despite sometimes janky and roundabout approaches to features that are essentially a few taps away on SteamOS. To dispel any misconceptions, the Xbox Ally is simply not going to be able to handle every new AAA gaming experience, but you are going to be able to play a lot of games. The performance of the Xbox Ally can be impressive at times, but also consider that everything we're looking at is at 720p resolution. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4 is often hitting 60 FPS, and that's also at only 15 watts. The Xbox app lists the game at mostly compatible, but I found no issues while playing, and it actually felt very optimized. Cyberpunk can get into the 40 FPS range pretty consistently in the benchmark test at 20 watts. This is the Steam Deck settings configuration, but with FSR turned off. If you turn on FSR, you can even double your frames, but of course at the cost of render quality. Dead Space plays pretty well, although it is noted by the Xbox app to only be mostly compatible. There's some occasional freezes at times, but not enough to deter me from playing since it doesn't actually happen during any of the action. I also found that in the last few days, the Xbox app has been pushing out game updates, and that actually took Indiana Jones from being an unplayable mess to being fully playable at low settings, and honestly, I think it looks pretty good. This game is demanding, and it's impressive to see it run so well out of the box on the lower powered Xbox Ally. But like I said, not every game is going to run. Spider-Man 2 freezes after a few minutes of playing, or when it doesn't crash, there are a lot of stutters and we're often getting dips below 30 FPS. It's just unplayable. And Madden 25 is listed as mostly compatible, but it crashes when you try to start up the game. Through all of the games that I was testing, it kind of made me realize what the sweet spot of the Xbox Ally is. It's going to be the perfect companion for your backlog. Slightly older games. Some newer ones like Indiana Jones will run great, but anything from a few years ago feels like the sweet spot for this device. That's actually the reason I started playing Dead Space on the Xbox Ally. It may not be the most optimized game, but at 20 watts, I found the perfect Halloween game to knock out for my backlog, and I plan to fully play it through on the Xbox Ally. It's already part of PC Game Pass through EA's subscription service, so it's not something I could even play on Steam Deck unless I was to purchase it again, which if you plan on keeping Game Pass, the Xbox Ally is the reason to keep it. The vast library of new and older games in Game Pass I think does still make it a pretty reasonable service, even if you only subscribe for a few months at a time. From an emulation standpoint, I definitely need to do more testing, but first glance, it's pretty good, as long as you're pushing the watts of the device to the max at 20 watts. This is Super Mario Odyssey in handheld mode, and I'm sure there's more settings I can adjust. There are moments of slowdown, but I think we can tweak settings to try to get some better performance. Xbox 360 emulation without much modification can play games at just about full speed. So even though the Simpsons game ran at full speed, it had some crazy audio glitches. There's a lot more emulation testing to do, but from what I can see, I think it'll do some 360, some Switch, and some PS3. Any older consoles should work pretty well, but make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an in-depth emulation video. The ASUS ROG Xbox Ally is going to excel as a backlog completionist companion. There's always going to be older games that you've been meaning to play, and the Xbox Ally is a good reason to pick up and play one of those games. I don't think this is a device that can double as your full console or PC replacement if you also like to play a lot of the latest AAA games. There are definitely some games that I was impressed could play so well, like Indiana Jones, but those seem to be more of an exception, and Xbox targeting optimizations for the Ally line of devices. So while the Z2A isn't the most powerful chipset on the market, I think it pulls through as a completely reasonable option as a choice for a handheld gaming PC. The performance is feeling like it's oftentimes in line or even better than a Steam Deck. And the Xbox Ally does win out with compatibility, having support for anti-cheat systems and just more compatibility with less tweaks in general. If you have Game Pass or want to use other game launchers without any workarounds, that's a massive benefit of the Xbox Ally. While far from perfect, the Xbox app and full screen experience have enough features to make a handheld Windows experience make at least a little bit more sense. You're still going to find yourself heading to the desktop mode now and then, but at least we're getting something as a start. If you've got a pretty big backlog, I think this could be the right device for you. SteamOS has such a stronghold on the user experience though, and we just need to see that level of care and attention to detail from Microsoft. I think the Xbox Ally certainly has a place in the market. At $600, it's $50 more than the comparable Steam Deck OLED model, and that price point helps it stand out as a great handheld at its core. It's incredibly ergonomic. It has the best parts of Xbox's DNA, although it does bear the caveat to say that Xbox is having some sort of identity crisis right now with their consoles. We're seeing stores like Target and Costco remove Xbox from their store shelves entirely. And we're hearing conflicting reports of if a new generation Xbox is even in the cards anymore. But I kind of think that doesn't really matter for the Xbox Ally. In fact, I think we might just be seeing that Microsoft is going all in on the handheld gaming experience with the Xbox handheld. I think what we have here is the best parts of Xbox's DNA distilled into a handheld. It's feeling like this device is a result of collecting a lot of various feedback about handheld gaming PC experiences, and this is the amalgamation of that, with the cutbacks to help bring the price down from the much more expensive $1,000 for the Xbox Ally X. And it's not to say that $599 is cheap, it's not. But if this is around your budget for a handheld, I think you're going to be happy with the performance when your expectations are framed towards slightly older games. If you are interested in picking up the ASUS ROG Xbox Ally, I've got links to it in the description of this video, which will help the channel. And that's it. This was the Xbox Ally review, but I've got the Xbox Ally X review that you can go check out. I'm on a roll with Xbox Ally content, so be sure to get subscribed, because we're going to do things like take a look at Bazzite and SteamOS getting installed, see how easy it is to upgrade the storage, and also do a lot more emulation testing. Also, let me know down in the comments, what are your thoughts on the Xbox handheld? Do you think Xbox is coming back? Do you think this is like some weird decision that Xbox is going handheld, even though we don't know what's going on with their consoles? There's a lot to talk about, so let me know all your thoughts in the comments. And that does it. That's the Xbox handheld, at least one of them. Go check out the other review, and I'm gonna go get some sleep because it is like 2 in the morning and I'm still not done editing. I'll get done editing. A lot more videos. Get subscribed. Thanks for watching. See ya.